Come into this place of peace and let its silence heal your spirit. Come into this place of memory and let its history heal your soul. Come into this place of prophecy and power and let its vision change your heart. Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Amherst. I'm Reverend Michelle Buheit, and I am joined today at the pulpit by Angela Warren, our Director of Faith Development, and at the piano, Adam Schmidt. I'm a little rattled. We were doing tech things until about a half a second before I started making words. Everyone take a deep breath with me so we can all arrive. Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Amherst. I offer my pronouns of she and her so that all of us can experience the fullness of our identities and feel confident in offering our pronouns to one another. Together we create a multi-generational, beloved, worshiping community. Today is your last chance to join a short-term covenant group during the months of October through December. Covenant groups are a form of small group ministry that encourage friendships and deeper sharing than we normally might engage in during fellowship time. If you haven't filled one out yet, toward the back of the chapel, on a little stand just beyond the chairs, there's a little red box. And next to the red box, there are very small pieces of white paper. And that is where you can put your name and contact information if you would like to be part of a covenant group for that short-term pilot program. For anybody who is listening, watching online, just drop me an email at minister@uuamherst.org. I will be processing and creating these groups early in the week, so it would be good if you were going to connect with me very soon. Just a reminder that in our efforts to be as fully inclusive as possible and to care for one another, masks must be worn while you're in the building unless you're up here preaching. And then you get a little bit of a bye so that in the words. I am super excited to announce that our four-hoofed, horned landscapers are arriving tomorrow. Boop, boo. So thank you to those of you who have signed up to be goat chaperones. And if you are unsure about your status on the list, I saw Lori Kaznicki, she's over there waving. And so if you're a little unsure about your time, check with Lori. And the rest of you are just welcome to pop in throughout the week and watch these little darlings transform a portion of our back property as they take care of some of the invasive species that would be really hard for humans to spend a lot of time digging out. They find them delicious treats. The goats will be here until next Sunday. This is also a reminder that UU singer-songwriter Jim Scott will be with us for a special campfire concert on Saturday evening. Out back, out beyond the parking lot, there is a trail. If you mostly have never been back there and it just looks like a wall of trees, there's a nice wide trail that will take you back to our pavilion and campfire area. And that's where Jim will be offering a concert on Saturday evening. It would help to bring lawn chairs. We have a limited number of chairs. And on Sunday morning, he will be with us in worship. So if traveling across a wooded trail in the dark is not your idea of a good time, come Sunday morning when the path is easy and the lights are on. And do invite friends, family, neighbors, even people you don't like. Invite them to come and partake in this concert. It will change your whole relationship with them.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Angela Warren. I'm the Director of Faith Development for this congregation. My pronouns are she, they, and he. As we gather, we acknowledge that our church is built on occupied land that once belonged to the First Nations people of this region, the Haudenosaunee. May we be good stewards of the land and courageously cultivate community with all living things. We begin our time together by lighting the chalice. The flaming chalice is the symbol of Unitarian Universalism. Come, all seekers and dreamers. Come in the spirit of truth, growth, and service. Come with openness of mind and respect for others. Come with integrity and reason. Our lamp and your spirit will show the way. It's been said that Unitarian Universalism is the religion that puts its faith in you, trusting each individual to engage in a spiritual journey and to reach your own conclusions about spiritual matters. We do that in beloved community as we support one another in faith and in friendship. In that spirit, this congregation has created a covenant, a sacred promise of how we will strive to be with one another. Please join me in speaking our covenant. It's up on the screen. Together we promise to gather in compassionate community, to celebrate diversity of thought and unity of spirit, and to seek wholeness for ourselves, our children, and our world. So this morning we're going to begin a programmatic aspect of faith development that we are continuing for the third year. We instituted all church faith development activities that took place in person, one every month, 2 years ago, so long ago, before the disappearing year came. And then we continued this practice online last year. We made chalices, we had a wreath-making activity that was hugely, widely accepted and participated in, and we're going to continue those activities this year in a little bit different iteration in hopes of creating this multi-generational worship. So today I have, oops, thank you. One of the activities we did online last year was called Blackout Poetry, and Marge Marcille came up with the idea. Thank you, Marge. And it's very simple, and this is our activity box for the next couple weeks. And if anybody gets antsy or has a child or, any kind of reason to get up and move around like we all do because our attention spans are short, perhaps, this is called Blackout Poetry. Basically, all the instructions are there, and hopefully all the supplies that you need are there. They're placed at the back of the chapel, in the Emerson room, in the atrium as you walk out to the left, and then through the dining room and the living room. So people have an opportunity to spread out if you need to. And hopefully the instructions are self-explanatory. And if you need help, I'll be available. So, all right, thank you.
Happy Universalism Sunday. It was on September 30th, 1770, that John Murray preached his first sermon in America, a momentous occasion of nearly mythic proportions. Some of you are familiar with the story of John Murray, a Universalist minister in England who lost his wife and son to illness, spent time in debtor's prison, and finally left England's shores to start a new life in a new land, a new life that did not include ministry. As fate would have it, Murray's ship got stuck on a sandbar near the coast of New Jersey. He rowed to shore and met a man by the name of Thomas Potter, who had built a small chapel on his land in the hope that someone would bring Universalism to America and preach in his chapel. I know, it sounds too good to be true. Well, to those under the iron thumb of Calvinism, Universalism sounded too good to be true as well. Imagine a God who was so loving that none of God's children would ever be consigned to eternal punishment. Salvation had been accomplished for all of creation for all time. As the story goes, John Murray declined Thomas Potter's offer to preach in his little chapel, but Potter was persistent, and Murray finally agreed that if the wind did not change in the next 3 days to allow his ship to land, he would preach. The wind did not change. John Murray preached in the little chapel at what is now known as Murray's Grove, New Jersey, and Universalism took root in America. It's such a satisfying story, and so much better because it's actually true. John Murray went on to preach, and then he met and married Judith Sargent, who became quite a force for Universalism in her own right, but that's a sermon for another day. Unitarianism had come to America via the Puritans in the mid-1600s, joined by Universalism in 1770. Then, a little less than 200 years later, these two liberal Christian denominations joined to create something brand new, a faith based in reason, love, and service, Unitarian Universalism. From the early 1800s to the beginning of the 20th century, both faith traditions were undergoing monumental shifts. You might even call these faith crises. The Unitarians, who had always had an issue with the claim that Jesus was more than human, attracted people who found the authoritarianism of orthodoxy to be too confining. The Universalists also rejected orthodoxy's hellfire and brimstone, with some notable preachers like Hosea Ballou engaging in debates and proof texting, finding scriptural support for their claims that God was loving and good, and that if Jesus died to atone for humanity's shortcomings, he had accomplished it for everyone, for all time. Everyone was already saved. Each of these traditions that make up our faith family had reached a point where authoritarianism and black and white thinking stopped working for them. Both traditions embraced biblical scholarship to support their divergence. This is going to be an important point to remember as we plunge into an exploration of faith and doubt and the ways that we can progress into greater belonging, meaning, and purpose. As we prepare to talk about some big theological ideas, let's begin at the beginning with a very important question. What is God?
This story is called What is God? By Etan Boritzer, illustrated by Robbie Martantz. To the children of the world, what is God? You are asking a very, very big question. Children, grown-ups, and old people, everyone wants to know, what is God? People who live in forests and mountains, people who live in deserts and cities, on farms, everyone wants to know, what is God? Maybe we can't really talk about God because maybe we can't see God, or maybe we can't hear God, or even taste or smell or touch God. Maybe we can only feel God like we feel love, or like we can feel happy or sad. Maybe God is what you feel when you stand on a very high mountain and see a big, beautiful view all around you. Or maybe God is what you feel when you hear beautiful music, sometimes soft and sometimes loud. Or maybe God is what you feel when you see 1,000,000 stars at night and you feel very small looking up at them. Maybe we can feel God when there is loud thunder or bright lightning outside our windows. Long ago, people thought the sun was God, like a very strong and great light that shines through and around everything. But now we know that the sun is just one star, and really just one small star in a big universe filled with millions of stars. A universe is everything. A universe is everything you can see when you look up at the stars at night. Some people think that God is an old man with a long white beard who sits up in the clouds and looks down on us all the time. They think that this God knows everything, everything we do or say or even think. And when some people talk about this God, they look up at the clouds towards him. Sometimes this God is a nice old man, but sometimes this God is an angry old man, and some people think that if we are not good, this God will be angry with us. Next time you fly in an airplane, look out at the window at the clouds, but you won't see that God there, because no one has even seen that God. Maybe God is an eternal mystery. Eternal means forever and ever, and a mystery is like a big puzzle with lots of pieces you have to fit together. Is there anyone who can really tell us how all the many pieces of this big and forever puzzle called God fit together? Some people think that there are teachers who have been able to solve the puzzle, what is God? These teachers, men, women, and even children, have come from many places in the world and have talked in many different languages about the question, what is God? Some of these teachers are still alive today, but most of the great teachers lived long ago, and people passed their teachings along to their children, and so on. This passing on of the teachings went on for many, many years, and that's how many religions got started. A religion is a belief held by a group of people who all understand God in the same way, usually as one teacher taught them about God. You see, every religion is different, and people of every religion understand God in their own different way. Sometimes people of one religion want everyone to know what is God in the same way that they understand God. Sometimes people of one religion don't like people of another religion just because their religion is different, or they don't understand the other religion. And sometimes people of one religion start fights with people of another religion because they don't understand that most religions are almost the same. How are most religions the same? Most religions teach you that you should be good to other people, just like you would want other people to be good to you. Most religions say that you should not lie. Most religions say that you should not steal. Most religions say you should not hurt people. There are many ways religions are all the same. If everyone thought about all the ways in which all the different religions are the same, maybe people wouldn't have so many fights about all the different answers to the question, what is God? There are many ways to talk about God. Does that mean that everything that everybody ever says about God is right? Does that mean that God is everything? Yes, God is everything great and small. God is everything far away and near. God is everything bright and dark, and God is everything in between. If everything is God, God is the last leaf on a tree. If everything is God, God is an elephant crashing through the jungle. If everything is God, then God is the hot wind in the desert, and God is the freezing snow in winter, and God is the big yellow moon. If everything is God, then I am God, you are God, all of us are God. So, if you really want to feel God, you can close your eyes now. Listen to your breath go slowly in and out, and think how you are connected to everything, even if you are not touching everything. Try to feel how connected you are to your dad and how you're connected to your mom. Try to feel how you're part of your whole family, like your brothers and sisters, your grandparents, your aunts and uncles, cousins, and your friends. And try to feel how all of those people are part of a whole bigger family, and how all the families of the world, even those we can't see or touch, are really a part of you and your family. And if you can start to feel God like that, then maybe you will soon feel the whole answer to that very, very big question that everyone asks: what is God?
What is God? Such a fundamental question. And one that if there are 50 people in the room, we will have at least 60 answers, crisscrossing and tumbling over one another. For many of us, the question itself is a roadblock. So I more often ask, what is of ultimate importance to us? I've been asked the question, and perhaps it is on the tip of your tongue today, why do we have to use the word God to describe what is of ultimate importance? When I say God, it doesn't mean the same thing as my neighbor or family member. Isn't that unnecessarily confusing? Such a good question. It comes from a place of integrity and a desire to be specific with our language and to be understood. My answer has been and continues to be that if we wish to be part of a larger dialogue, we need to find common language. We may have to spend some time defining what we mean, but that is more useful than starting from scratch. It's okay that we mean different things when we say God. It's an opportunity for conversation, and we love conversation. Today, I invite you to relax into the ambiguity of the language of God. We're going to be traversing the twisty road of faith and doubt. Perhaps our notions of God can be the lanterns we hold to shed light on the journey. So let's prepare our hearts and minds with a time of quiet reflection, listening for that still small voice, however you name that. I invite you into a time of quiet, after which I will offer some words, and then I will invite you into a bit of activity in this quiet space. But let's just breathe together. Spirit of community, in which we share and find strength and common purpose, we turn our minds and hearts toward one another, seeking to bring into our circle of concern all who need our love and support, those who are ill, those who are in pain either in body or in spirit, those who are lonely or grieving, those who have been wronged. While we are holding in our hearts those people that come to mind, I invite you to come forward and to place a stone or shell on the labyrinth. I've pulled it out a little bit from the chalice, and so you can come from different angles, so you don't have to sort of stand in line. We're not buying tickets to a movie. We are here to bring our collective joys, concerns, and sorrows into this space. So as Adam plays, please come forward. We are part of a web of life that makes us one with all humanity, with all the universe. We are grateful for the miracle of consciousness that we share, the consciousness that gives us the power to remember, to love, to care. Amen, Ashe, and blessed be. Though days be dark with storms and burdens weigh my heart, though troubles wait at every turn, I know I can go on. I wanted to share that video of Adam playing and singing the song from our Teal hymnal because it speaks to many of our experiences, physical and spiritual. It certainly resonates in my own experience of doubt and feeling disconnected from the faith I was brought up to believe. Doubt and disconnection can play havoc with our sense of belonging, meaning, and purpose, a theme we have been weaving over the last few weeks. I find that these three necessities to human well-being arise over and over in my life through the words of Brené Brown, the tree image in my office that represents a healthy church, and most recently in Brian McLaren's book, Faith After Doubt, the subtitle of which is Why Your Beliefs Stopped Working and What to Do About It. As one who has had the experience of losing the faith of my youth and later discovering a path that could heal my heart and challenge my spirit, I was intrigued. McLaren defines 4 distinct stages or phases of faith. For those of you who've been around a while, you may remember me preaching several years ago on a similar topic using James Fowler's 6 stages of faith. McLaren's work leans heavily on Fowler's, and what makes it especially relevant and noteworthy is what he asserts happens between those stages. Where Fowler's stages seem to be based in ascension, moving up from one stage to the next, McLaren's hypothesis is based in descent, a descent into doubt and discomfort that urges us to seek something more authentic to who we are in the moment. I will state right from the beginning that I do not agree with everything McLaren offers, and there were whole chapters when I was shouting at him as I listened to the audiobook. But I think there is some real wisdom to be gleaned that can be of particular interest to Unitarian Universalists and the future of our faith. So now let me try to condense 220 pages plus appendices into the next few minutes. Like McLaren, I will use a Christian context for our discussion because that has been my experience. But these stages work in all religious traditions because they are based in human experience and development. Remember what I said a little earlier about the Unitarians and Universalists? Each of the traditions that make up our faith family had reached a point where authoritarianism and black and white thinking stopped working for them. Both traditions embraced biblical scholarship to support their divergence. Those 2 sentences sum up the transition from stage 1 faith to stage 2. If you would like to raise your hands in response to this question, you are certainly welcome to, or you can sit and consider it to be a rhetorical question with no hands raised necessary. It's up to you. I will ask the question, and I will raise my hand. How many of us were raised in a religious tradition that insisted that the earth was created in 6 24-hour days and the Bible was the inerrant word of God? Thank you to those who decided to raise your hands. Made me not feel so lonesome up here. I was raised in this stage of Christianity. Notice that I said stage of Christianity, not form or hermeneutic. And hermeneutic is just a fancy theological term for interpretation. The certainty contained in the bumper sticker, God said it, I believe it, that settles it. You seen those? It's been a few years, actually a few decades since I've seen those, but in the late 70s, they were everywhere. That sentence describes stage 1 faith. Everything is black and white, no room for gray, much less any other fancy colors. And all you need to do is tune into any, well, almost any television preacher to hear the ringing voice of authority. McLaren calls stage 1 faith simplicity. For many people, myself and our spiritual ancestors included, when simplicity stops working, when doubts and questions arise, we may find ourselves simply thrust into stage 2. That's another slide, please. I might have forgot to mark it. Our clicker stopped working just before church this morning to add more fun to the day. Stage 2 is known as complexity. As a teenager in the 1970s, my journey into complexity came through the Jesus movement. When the simplicity box became too confining, I leapt into the experience of complexity with ecstatic singing, biblical scholarship, especially around the end times, and even attempted speaking in tongues, which, by the way, did not work for me. And all of that deep Bible study, music ministry, and devouring books that promise things like the 4 easy ways to discover your spiritual gifts rooted me firmly in complexity. I describe those years as my Sunday school scholar days. I could quote you chapter and verse, and I was a leader in the youth group. Then I went to a stage 1 college, and everything broke. I couldn't wedge myself, so I'm going to use these boxes up here for a second. Okay, so stage 1 is this box. And then when that broke and I crawled out, I found myself, you know, the whole like nesting boxes thing. Since they're not clear, I can't actually nest them and show you how this works because you wouldn't be able to see all the magic. But once I went from this size box to this size box to try to put myself back in that little box, yeah, not so much. Not so very much happening there. I discovered that all of the frantic activity of stage 2 complexity no longer had roots for me because it's rooted in stage 1. I mean, you still have to be somewhat connected to stage 1, and stage 1 had blown up for me. In our story today, we asked a really important question. What is God? I had always thought of God as loving Father, but that was not the God I found at that college. That God was mean, terrifying, and just waiting for me to mess up. And just like that, I was in stage 3, complexity. Up here, that's our bigger box. I wonder if my story so far has resonated with your experience. Mine was in an evangelical Christian context, but it could have been anything, even atheism. The stages of faith are based in human experience and development. Stage 1, simplicity, is highly dualistic. I'm right, you're wrong. God said it, I believe it, that settles it. Stage 2, complexity, is kind of spiritual busy work. And that brings us to stage 3, perplexity. Let me share with you a bit about what McLaren says about stage 3. He writes this: "Here's my hunch. More liberals and progressives have reached stage 3, and as they have come to doubt authority figures and institutions, they have come to see how arguments based on purity, loyalty, authority, and liberty are often marshaled against justice and compassion. Perplexity, even though it is deconstructive, is not destructive. Even though it questions and challenges conventional moral thinking, it is not immoral. It is a constructive stage of descent on its way toward love. Stage 3 dissenters, by questioning and challenging beliefs, norms, authority figures, and systems that are harming people, help everyone, including those in stages 1 and 2 who don't approve of their dissent." Does that sound familiar? Sounds a little like Unitarian Universalists to me. Consider our 4th principle: to affirm and promote a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. And our first source: we draw on direct experience of transcending mystery and wonder. We tend to be independent thinkers. I think we're pretty proud of our perplexity. So let me continue with McLaren's commentary. If stage 3 dissenters keep descending through perplexity, they will face a moment of crisis, a moment of reckoning, a moment of decision. Will their stage 3 superpowers of critical thinking become their Midas touch, a gift that undoes them? Will they use their X-ray vision to see through everything and determine that there is nothing of value left to see? Will they be sucked into a vortex of meaninglessness and despair? Or will the seeing through of skeptical doubt lead them to the seeing into of mystical or contemplative insight, so that they see through and beyond simplicity, complexity, and perplexity to a deeper narrative, a more mysterious coherence, a revolutionary harmony that embraces and integrates all it includes. Stage 3 perplexity is our superpower. And like any superpower, it can be used for good, or it can be our undoing. We can get stuck in questioning and refuse to see potential answers. I love our 4th principle, affirming and promoting a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. But I think I would like to add that we are allowed to let that search actually find something. I don't think it is possible to remain in a perpetual search cycle. I think we just get comfy in our contrariness and stop looking. So now that I've puffed you up with the gifts of perplexity and then popped your balloon, let's explore stage 4, which McLaren calls harmony. He writes, harmony has been described as a second naivete, a second simplicity or innocence, when instead of seeing through everything, we see into everything, and at the core, we find not meaninglessness and banality, but profound, inexpressible belovedness and beauty. That is a far cry from authoritarianism and spiritual busywork. And I think for many of us, it is necessary to spend the time seeing through everything in perplexity to learn how to soften our gaze and see into everything through harmony. I want to take a tiny moment here to offer a thought regarding the spiritual development of children. For many of us who found Unitarian Universalism in adulthood, we may have fully embraced perplexity's invitation to question everything and move away from simplicity and complexity. And because we have found so much value in that exhilarating freedom, we want it for our children and youth. And that's a good want. Remember that these stages are based on human experience and development, and it's the development piece that I'm focusing on now. Children need the simplicity of learning right from wrong, to see the world through the lens of dualism. It helps to keep them safe, and it instills moral basics. They are concrete thinkers, so abstractions are meaningless at best and potentially off-putting. When they become adolescents, they are ready for complexity, to challenge the extent of what they have learned and press against boundaries. As they emerge into young adulthood, perplexity, deep questioning, and exploration is exactly where they need to be as they learn to navigate the world and to take responsibility for their own sense of belonging, meaning, and purpose. Throughout these stages, I believe our job is to create the safe space and encouragement to explore and discover what is of ultimate importance to them, to answer for themselves, what is God? I know that there are some of you who have been waiting patiently throughout the sermon to know more about the times that I shouted at McLaren on the audiobook. You are my people, and I will not let you down. Should you decide to read the book for yourself, it was chapter 11 when I could no longer keep quiet. He describes communities of harmony with this beautiful phrase, faith expressing itself in love. Oh, that's so lovely. So much yes. And when we Unitarian Universalists are at our best, I think that's exactly who we aspire to be and to become, a faith expressing itself in love. So why was I shouting at him? Because McLaren spends the whole chapter opining that there is no such community. Oh, if only there was a community whose purpose was to express their faith through acts of love and service. Pages and pages of Unitarian Universalist invisibility. I know we're small. We are a blip on the religious radar. But good grief, he is a smart guy. He must have heard of us somewhere. Faith expressing itself in love. That's what we have been creating during these 6 years of shared ministry together. This month marks the 3rd anniversary of the Little Free Pantry, a ministry that has truly grown into faith expressing itself in love. An extension ministry of giving away quality clothing is currently being piloted adjacent to the pantry. More faith expressing itself in love and service. A few years ago, with the expertise of weaver Pam Kent, we created together the rainbow weaving at the back of the chapel, a symbol of who we are as a gathered community, faith expressing itself in love. We have woven a place of belonging, meaning, and purpose. Last week, we affirmed that yet again as we installed the Mandala Project led by young adult Chelsea Warren, with you all providing the materials to express who we are as a community of faith. It's hanging in the lobby, and we put it low enough because it's a collage, and so we wanted to make it so you could actually read it, see it. So do spend some time with that. Every card, every email, phone call, every meal cooked with love and gifted, every shared craft project, book discussion, and gathering of friends, every piece of art that adds beauty and meaning to our space, every piece of music created to enhance our worship and connect us to one another and to that which is more than us. This is how faith expresses itself in love. All of the countless ways we light the lamp of love by loving the earth, loving one another, and loving those we serve weaves a tapestry of belonging, meaning, and purpose. When you are held in love, you are never alone. Thank you for joining us in worship today. I hope you have been inspired and uplifted by sharing this time together. You can support the work and mission of this congregation by leaving a financial gift in one of the offering baskets at the back of the chapel, and you can always go to our website and click on the giving link. Together we affirm, freely have we received of gifts that minister to our needs of body and spirit. Gladly we bring to our church and its wide concerns a portion of this bounty. Thank you in advance for your generosity. We extinguish our chalice now with these familiar words. Please join me. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. We are going to throw caution to the wind. I'm going to put on my mask, and we are going to sing one verse of Travel Light and Travel Easy. Travel light and travel easy till I see you once again. Travel light and travel easy, and remember I'm your friend. A benediction is a blessing, a way to close the sacred space that we have shared and to transition to our regular lives, knowing that we are deeply connected even when we are apart. These parting words have been attributed to John Murray, the father of American Universalism. Go out into the highways and byways. Give the people something of your vision. You may possess a small light, but uncover it, let it shine, use it in order to bring more light and understanding to the hearts of men and women. Give them not hell, but hope and courage. Preach the kindness and everlasting love of God. Go in peace.